Hello and welcome to Clay Pigeon Kart Club. 10th of March 2024 and the Formula Blues are about to hit the track for the first time in anger in 2024 for round 1 of the Counties Kart Club Championship, and as you can clearly see, it is a wet weather affair. Earlier on in the day, the Honda Cadets kicked off their season with Arthur Way taking a pole to flag finish of all registered drivers ahead of Devon Giles in second place, with Alfie Lenton ready to start in the Junior Blues. Heat 1 today saw Dave Watts take the win ahead of Anthony Cleal, with Max Gunter, Steve Groves and Callum Jobson making up the top 5. Mike Bell, Nigel Vickery, David Good, Paul Alexander and a problem for Harry Smithson would round out the order. Heat 2 would be won from pole position by Anthony Cleal, with a hard-charging Dave Watts finishing within 2 tenths of a second behind in second place. Harry Smithson would get back on the rails in third ahead of Max Gunter and Mike Bell, with Callum Jobson, David Good, with problems with Paul Alexander, Nigel Vickery and Harry Smithson. Heat 3 was also won by Dave Watts ahead of Anthony Cleal, Callum Jobson third place once again ahead of Steve Groves and Max Gunter, Nigel Vickery sixth ahead of Mike Bell, Paul Alexander, David Good and once again problems for Harry Smithson, dropping him back to the tail of the field. 3 heats in the book today will line up. Dave Watts takes pole position by a single point ahead of Anthony Cleal, Max Gunter third ahead of Callum Jobson, a tie break between Steve Groves and Mike Bell on row 3 ahead of Nigel Vickery, Harry Smithson, David Good and Paul Alexander make up the grid for round 1 of the Counties Kart Club Championship. As the karts head through Buttons and now up towards Pit Bend, Dave Watts backing the pace up alongside Anthony Cleal. 12 minutes plus a lap await us here at Clay Pigeon as the field heads towards the lights. Keep an eye on Dave Watts, keep an eye on the lights as we head down towards the acceleration line. And we're underway, and a good start for Watts. Cleal's gone with him, but they've both stolen a march on everybody else. Looks like Max Gunter slots through. Sorry, that's Callum Jobson up into third. Mike Bell and Max Gunter side by side. And a spin there for David Good in the first corner. Not the best start to his campaign, but it's Watts leading through the chicane ahead of Cleal, Jobson, Bell, Gunter, Groves, Smithson. And there's Harry Smithson down the inside of Steve Groves, and ahead Max Gunter's run wide, trying to pass Mike Bell. Smithson's going to get the run on Gunter, but no, Gunter gets the exit. But it's all shaken out down outside of the podium as Mike Bell's running wide, but it's Watts still leading. And there's the battle. Mike Bell looking for grip on the outside. Max Gunter all over him. Harry Smithson in there as well. There's Paul Alexander in the red speed, and that is Smithson getting the run against Max Gunter as we head down to complete the first lap. But into Billy's blind for lap 2. It's Dave Watts leading with a gap ahead of Anthony Cleal. Callum Jobson comes next, and they're all over the place in behind. Harry Smithson's down the inside of Gunter, and he's going to keep the move going past Mike Bell into the chicane. So Harry Smithson up to 4th. Mike Bell looking back towards the outside. Max Gunter in behind. And you can see there Smithson and Bell both searching for grip. Max Gunter running a tighter line, looking to try and get the exit down in towards the horseshoe. But here comes Paul Alexander in the red speed. You can spot that colour palette from a mile away, and Gunter loses a spot to Alexander, and Alexander straight up the inside of Mike Bell in Buttons. So Paul Alexander not messing about, he's charging forward. Already up now into 5th spot with Mike Bell and Max Gunter tight up on his bumper. Heading down into Billy's blind for the next time of asking. Bell looking to find grip round the outside. Gunter once again running a tighter line, and Max Gunter up the inside into the chicane. So Mike Bell struggling in the early stages. Max Gunter moves back up a spot, and now Steve Groves looking to get on the attack as the pack heads round the hand hairpin. And once again Groves tight line against Mike Bell. Nothing doing there this time though, as they head in towards the horseshoe. But up ahead that's Paul Alexander pressuring Harry Smithson round Buttons. Max Gunter trying to go with them as we hop back on board with Groves. As we look up ahead, Paul Alexander's got the run, Steve Groves has got the run on Mike Bell. Down the start finish straight, and Steve Groves makes the pass, as does Paul Alexander. That's the move for 4th. The red speed passes the Praga. Alexander runs wide, and Smithson back up underneath. They're going to go side by side into the chicane. And Harry Smithson takes the place, but he can't get the power down on exit. Alexander's got the run back down the outside towards the hand hairpin, and Paul Alexander sweeps back in front into 4th place. Ahead of Smithson, Gunter, Groves, Bell and Vickery. This battle pack for every position pretty much outside of the podium. Now we hop on board with Max Gunter, and a problem there for Smithson. He's looking to try and diagnose that on the fly, I would imagine, but Gunter gets through relatively easily. Likewise, Steve Groves. And Smithson looking down, possibly to try and fix the issue with the carburettor. As the pack starts yet another lap, and through goes Nigel Vickery as well. So Smithson dropping to the back of this group. Meanwhile, Dave Watts leading the race, rounds the hand hairpin ahead of Anthony Cleal. They've pulled a gap on Callum Jobson in third, and Jobson's got himself quite a comfortable gap ahead of Paul Alexander and the rest. But Max Gunter already looking to get back on the attack of Alexander. Harry Smithson not falling back from Nigel Vickery though, so it could be that he's got dialed back in. And that's Mike Bell dropping a wheel off the track, looking for grip in the horseshoe. Clay Pigeon has a number of different viable wet lines. It's just a case of finding one that works. And Bell really struggling with that, and now Nigel Vickery all over him as they head down the straight to complete another lap. But back to the hand hairpin. There's Dave Watts leading the race. He's got a comfortable margin at the moment from Anthony Cleal, and the pair of them have driven away into the distance. There's Callum Jobson in a strong third. Paul Alexander running a bit wide. Max Gunter running a different line as well. Steve Groves in tight. Mike Bell really looking around the outside, but Nigel Vickery's gone tight and gone up the inside. Bell gets the run off the corner, and he's running a wider line through the horseshoe. Side by side, they're going to run into Buttons. Mike Bell back up the inside against Nigel Vickery. Harry Smithson tucked up tight behind them as well. But Bell runs wide, Vickery gets the run off the corner, and Smithson's into the pits. So Harry Smithson, that problem not getting any better, has decided to call it a day. So we're back down in Billy's blind. Mike Bell once again struggling, trying to find some grip. Nigel Vickery looking to get the run off the bend. As you see him through the chicane in the distance. Here's Paul Alexander. He's starting to pull a little bit away from Max Gunter, who's got Steve Groves to company. And then Vickery and Bell, complete opposite lines through the hand hairpin. Vickery pulls up alongside, but Bell's got the run. Here's Max Gunter. Steve Groves still on his tails. They round Buttons up towards Pit Bend. This, of course, the battle for 5th position. Groves with a tighter exit. Gunter's going to run side by side, and Groves going to have to back out of that one as they head across the line to start another lap. You can tell how wet it is. The kick easy flat in the dry, and you can hear the lift off there from Steve Groves. There's Bell and Vickery side by side once again. Mike Bell running a lot wider. Vickery trying to get up the inside. Nothing doing this time as they head through the chicane and up the Sturmey straight. And coming out of the hand hairpin, Max Gunter back end all over the place, trying to find some traction. Steve Groves starting now to close that gap back up again as there's Vickery and Bell side by side once again. Bell has the inside though for Buttons and slots back in front of Nigel Vickery. These two battling over 7th position. And Vickery now up the inside. Bell gets the traction on exit. And they're going to remain bumper to bumper, crossing to start yet another lap. As into Buttons goes Dave Watts in the lead of the race. He's put a lap on David Good, who is struggling but still going. There's Cleal in 2nd place, rounding Buttons himself, so you can see the gap for the lead. But back to the hand hairpin. Groves and Gunter still close together. Paul Alexander starting to bridge away from them now. As round Buttons they go, and once again Bell and Vickery side by side into the horseshoe. Bell with the inside line for Buttons though. He looks to keep the position. As here's Steve Groves now, looking to try and get the exit on Max Gunter. Nigel Vickery and Mike Bell side by side, and this time Vickery's through. In Pit Bend as they head down towards the start finish line, Nigel Vickery makes the position. Now does Bell have any comeback? We shall have to find out. For the moment, Steve Groves gets the run on Max Gunter down the Sturmey straight. Gunter's going to go in deep looking for the grip. Groves with a tighter line pulls up alongside. Gunter's power band kicks in and shoots him forward. Steve Groves settling in behind once again as they round Buttons and head up towards Pit Bend. Kart number 8 depending off of kart number 7. As here's the leader. It's the O plate, Dave Watts. And that gap is extending back to Anthony Cleal, the number 1 plate, last year's defending national champion. Back into Billy's blind. the battle between Max Gunter and Steve Groves through the chicane. Gunter looking a bit squirrely, Groves looking more under control and gets the exit. And again, Gunter running so wide he's run off the track. And Steve Groves is going to slot underneath, so good move there by Groves in the Cosmic. And now, can Gunter fight back, or will Groves start to drive away into the distance? Round buttons they go. Max Gunter using all of the exit curb. Really experimenting, trying to find where the grip is at the current moment. Here's Dave Watts. He knows where the grip is. Round the horseshoe. No dramas there for the O-plate. Anthony Cleal likewise seems to have a solid line that he's running. But Dave Watts starting to open the gap back up again. Meanwhile, here's Callum Jobson. Paul Alexander looks like he's trying to close in on Jobson as Jobson closes up on David Good. And there's Steve Groves. That gap back to Max Gunter is indeed opening up as Jobson makes the move on the Mac Millerelli. So now we're on board with Paul Alexander. Rounding pit bend. Alexander looks to have got a good traction on the way up. He's going to drive past David Good, who is struggling on. Across the line goes Alexander, clipping that inside curve of the King. Using the wide line, trying to find where the grip is. Into the chicane goes the red speed. Groves' Cosmic through the chicane as well. And then Max Gunter in the Tony Kart getting a little bit borked. That's going to drop him back off of Steve Groves for the minute. As there's Jobson in third through the horseshoe. Ahead of the red speed. Ahead of the Cosmic. Ahead of the Tony Kart of Max Gunter. These four the closest on track at the moment. As round pit bend they go. Alexander has started to really close that gap in against Callum Jobson. Still a way to go and not a whole lot of time left to do it as they cross the line to start yet another lap. They down now into Billy's blind. Steve Groves there using all the track right out to the white line. Now into the chicane. Through the right, through the left and up this turn straight. So here we are dropping back to Billy's blind. There's Nigel Vickery. And here's Mike Bell about to get a lap put on him by the O-plate. As they go through the chicane. And Bell points Dave Watts through, so that is a easy job there for the O-plate. He's back up to pit bend. There's Jobson, there's Alexander, there's Groves, and we got on board with Max Gunter. Gunter, you can hear he's not got the confidence to put the power down just yet. Wheels are spinning up, crossing the line. Didn't quite see how long left on the timer there. Is the water playing havoc with the cameras just as much as it is with the grip out there. There's Anthony Cleal up into pit bend. Solid second place on the road at the moment. As here we are back to the hand hairpin, and that's Max Gunter going in very deep, running off the track once again. Gunter really looking to try and close in on Steve Groves, trying to find a line that works, but currently not able to do it. So here's Alexander out of pit bend. Steve Groves following him on. Here we go across the line once again. I believe that was less than a minute left on the clock at this point. So keep an eye on when Dave Watts gets back to the line. And here he goes across to start another lap. Dave Watts having just put a lap on Nigel Vickery this time. There in the background is Anthony Cleal rounding the King, so that is the gap for the lead of the race as things stand. Anthony Cleal putting a lap on David Good. But back up to pit bend. Third place, Callum Jobson in the Tony Kart. Fourth place, Paul Alexander in the red speed. Fifth place, Steve Groves in the Cosmic. Now we're on board with Alexander down across the line. Alexander hits the curb and he loses the back end. Paul Alexander off and he's going to roll down through the grass into Billy's blind. Steve Groves going to go around him and make the position. And Paul Alexander now he needs to recover, but Max Gunter is driven around him. And that's Groves up to fourth. Max Gunter now up into fifth. Paul Alexander spinning out at this late stage. He's got a little bit of time left though. Can he do anything against Max Gunter? Let's see if the red speed can get his head back in the game after that spin. Already there's not a huge gap to play with for Max Gunter, and in behind them is Dave Watts, who is leading the race. As down across the line goes Callum Jobson. The last lap board is out, so Max Gunter and Paul Alexander have 1 lap left to settle it, but round pit bend for the final time goes Dave Watts, as he will run down to the line and take the win. Dave Watts, round 1 of the 2 Counties Kart Club, goes to the O plate. There's still plenty of racing going on as Paul Alexander up the inside into the chicane against Max Gunter. Now down the Sturmey straight, the Red Speed's got the drive. Will Gunter go back for a move? Sure enough he does. Gunter with a tighter line, but Alexander able to hold the momentum around the outside, and that gap's opening up again, but into the horseshoe. Gunter goes tight, Alexander goes wide, and you can see the slip angle Alexander's got. He's looking for grip around the outside of Buttons. Able just enough to cover Gunter off there as they head round pit bend. It's going to be bumper to bumper stuff. Who's going to get the traction? It looks like it's Alexander. And across the line they go. Paul Alexander ahead of Max Gunter, and that's going to round out the finishers in the battle for 5th. As now here's the leaders into Parc Fermé, where everything would be declared. Dave Watts, the O-plate, takes the win ahead of Anthony Cleal by a big margin of 11 seconds. Callum Jobson completes the podium in 3rd ahead of Steve Groves. Paul Alexander from down the back of the grid up to 5th ahead of Max Gunter, with Nigel Vickery and Mike Bell both finishing a lap down. David Good struggling to the end, and Harry Smithson coming in early with a problem that would be the result of the first round of the championship. When you combine the result of the race with the grid positions to bring the early season standings, as a high five there for Jobson finishing on the podium. The results for the standings will currently look like this. It's Dave Watts at the top of the table with 0 points, a best possible score. Anthony Cleal in 2nd ahead of Callum Jobson. Steve Groves and Max Gunter tied with 9 points each in 4th and 5th, ahead of Nigel Vickery and Mike Bell, both even on points. Paul Alexander comes next ahead of David Good and Harry Smithson, with several other drivers yet to kick off their campaign, and 5 more rounds to come in the season, so keep an eye out for them. In the blue under 30 standings, new for this year for the 2 Counties Kart Club, Callum Jobson took the win ahead of Mike Bell and Harry Smithson, so a new subclass being introduced to the championship. The Blue Masters returning from last year, Dave Watts leading the way ahead of Max Gunter. Drivers only eligible for 1 age class in the 2 Counties Kart Club Championship this year, so a number of drivers missing out that you will see later on. In the blue veteran standings, it's Anthony Cleal leading the way, this time ahead of Steve Groves, with Paul Alexander and Nigel Vickery even in 3rd and 4th as things stand. And the blue legends class is also returning. That is going to be headed by David Good, unchallenged here on the day. That will be all for the round 1 of the 2 Counties Kart Club standings from Clay Pigeon. No, sorry, it won't. The blue top weights. Paul Alexander with an unchallenged win on the day, but still several drivers to kick off their campaign in the following rounds. And that will be all for today from Clay Pigeon Kart Club. Thank you for watching, and join us next time as the NKRA get underway with their first round of 2024 from Dunkeswell Kart Club. Until then, goodbye.
Runner-up, Anthony Cleal. And winner today, David Watts.
Yeah, I'll grab one.